Picture Europe in the spring of 1941. World War II rages at its peak, a relentless storm of violence sweeping across the continent. The Nazi war machine, driven by Adolf Hitler's ruthless ambition, roars through nations, leaving devastation in its wake. On April 6, 1941, German bombers darkened the skies above Yugoslavia, a small Balkan kingdom of diverse peoples, Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, and more. Within just 11 days, the Yugoslav army crumbles under the onslaught. By April 17th, the country surrenders. Its lands are swiftly divided among the Axis powers. Northern regions fall to Germany and Italy, while Bosnia and Croatia are handed over to the independent state of Croatia, NDH, a fascist puppet state controlled by the brutal Ustasha movement under Ante Pavelić. The Ustasha wasted no time unleashing their reign of terror. Fueled by a twisted ideology of racial purity, they launched a campaign of ethnic cleansing against Serbs, Jews, and Roma that shocked even their Nazi overlords. Welcome back to History Unraveled channel, where history comes to light. History reveals the staggering toll. Throughout the war, the Ustasha massacred between 300,000 and 500,000 Serbs, 25,000 to 40,000 Jews, and tens of thousands of Roma. Their methods were chilling: mass shootings in open fields, forced marches through snow and mud, and confinement in death camps like Jasenovac, often called the Auschwitz of the Balkans. At Jasenovac alone, estimates suggest that 80,000 to 100,000 people met their end, subjected to starvation, torture, and systematic slaughter by guards wielding knives, hammers, and guns. Among those lost was Milan Radic, a 15-year-old boy whose death would leave an unhealed wound in his family's heart. Yet amid this sea of darkness, a 17-year-old girl named Lepa Radic emerged as a blazing symbol of resistance. At just 15, she joined the Partisans, Yugoslavia's communist-led resistance army under Josip Broz Tito, trading her youth for a fight against tyranny. Lepa was one of approximately 2 million Yugoslav women who took up the cause against the Nazis, a remarkable figure in a war dominated by men. Of these, 91 earned the coveted Order of the People's Hero. 71 gave their lives in the struggle. Her story isn't just a tale of tragedy. It's a testament to the courage of a young woman who stood firm against one of history's most ruthless regimes. A narrative that stirs the soul and demands we remember the cost of freedom. Lepa Svetozara Radic was born on December 19, 1925, in the quiet village of Gašnica, near Bosanska Krupa, in what is now Bosnia and Herzegovina. The second of 4 children in a poor Serb family, she grew up along the serene banks of the Sava River, where the water's gentle flow belied the hardships of her early life. Her father scratched out a meager living as a farmer, toiling under the sun to coax crops from the rocky soil, while her mother poured her strength into raising the children in a home where every meal was a small victory. Despite their struggles, the Radic family held tight to values of unity and perseverance, qualities that would shape Lepa into the extraordinary figure she'd become. Lepa's greatest influence came from her uncle, Vladeta Radic, an electrician with a fiery passion for justice. A committed member of the local labor movement, Vladeta opened young Lepa's eyes to the world beyond their village. Around their simple wooden table, he spoke of the struggles of the working class, the exploitation under Yugoslavia's pre-war monarchy, and the dream of a society where fairness reigned. He handed her books by revolutionary writers like Maxim Gorky, whose vivid tales of defiance and hope struck a chord deep within her. Those worn, dog-eared pages became her window to a world of ideas, planting seeds of resistance that would soon sprout amid the chaos of war. From an early age, Lepa showed a sharp mind and a thirst for knowledge. She excelled at the village elementary school, where her teachers marveled at her quick wit and tireless diligence. In 1936, at the age of 11, she enrolled in the Women's Craft School in Bosanska Krupa, mastering skills like sewing, embroidery, and homemaking, traditional trades for girls of her time. But Lepa was anything but ordinary. Her classmates and instructors remembered her boldness, how she'd speak out against unfairness, even as a child in a society that rarely gave young voices a chance. By 1939, she completed her 4-year program and returned to Gašnica, her head buzzing with dreams of a brighter future. Little did she know, the world was about to plunge into darkness. Her dreams would soon give way to a higher calling. On April 6, 1941, the war crashed into Yugoslavia with devastating force. The air filled with the drone of German planes, the ground shook with the rumble of tanks, and Italian troops poured in alongside their allies. Within days, the Yugoslav army buckled under the relentless assault. By April 17th, the kingdom surrendered, its lands carved up among the victors. Bosnia, Lepa's homeland, was swallowed by the NDH, where the Ustasha launched their campaign of ethnic cleansing with a ferocity that turned neighbor against neighbor. Villages burned to ash, families were torn apart. The streets ran red with the blood of the innocent. The Radic family refused to bow to this terror. In July 1941, Lepa's father and 2 uncles, including Vladeta, joined the Partisans, a resistance movement swelling under Tito's leadership, fueled by a potent mix of communist ideals and fierce patriotism. Their defiance marked them as targets in the eyes of the Ustasha. In November 1941, fascist forces stormed their home, dragging the entire family, Lepa included, to a grim prison in Bosanska Krupa. There, 15-year-old Lepa saw the raw face of oppression, the crack of whips against flesh, the anguished cries of the beaten, the hollow stares of those stripped of hope. Yet even behind cold stone walls, her spirit remained unbroken, her resolve hardening with every passing day. Relief arrived on December 23, 1941, when partisan fighters launched a daring raid on the prison, shattering its gates and freeing Lepa, her sister Dara, and dozens of others. As they stepped into the icy night air, Lepa's path became clear. She and Dara, barely teenagers, pledged themselves to the resistance. "I won't live under fascist rule," she told her family, her voice steady with conviction. "If my father and uncles fight, so will I." With those words, she left behind the innocence of childhood, stepped into a war that would test her courage beyond measure, forging her into a symbol of defiance against unimaginable odds. Lepa and Dara joined the 7th Partisan Company of the 2nd Krajishki Detachment, stationed in the rugged, forested mountains of western Bosnia. At first, Lepa served as a nurse in makeshift field hospitals, crude shelters of canvas and wood tucked deep among the trees, far from enemy eyes. The work was grueling beyond imagination, stitching gaping wounds with threadbare supplies, comforting soldiers writhing in pain with no medicine to ease their suffering, all while the distant rumble of artillery reminded her of the ever-present danger. Amid the chaos, Lepa's steady hands and soothing words became a lifeline, offering a flicker of hope to men teetering on the edge of life and death. But Lepa's passion couldn't be confined to bandages and stretchers. In May 1942, she joined the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, KPJ, took on the role of political commissar in the town of Omarska. At just 16, she stood before groups of young people, farmers' sons, factory workers, students, her voice a powerful blend of warmth and steel. "Freedom isn't handed to us, it's something we seize with our own hands," she declared during secret meetings held under the cover of night, her words cutting through the fear that gripped her listeners. Her speeches were like sparks igniting dry tinder, turning hesitation into action. A survivor of those gatherings later recalled, "She didn't waste words. But what she said burned into you. You felt ashamed to stay silent after hearing her. Lepa's courage wasn't limited to rallying cries. In the summer of 1942, she led a group of young partisans on a perilous mission to harvest wheat near German lines. Bullets whizzed overhead, kicking up dirt around them. But Lepa stood tall, directing her team with unshaken resolve. They returned with tons of grain, vital sustenance that kept the resistance alive through the brutal winter months. Then in January 1943, during Operation Weisswes, known to history as the Battle of Neretva, Lepa risked her life to evacuate wounded fighters from the Grmech region. Following Tito's ironclad rule of no one left behind, she darted through gunfire and smoke, dragging soldiers to safety, saving dozens of lives. But the war exacted a devastating price. Her father and uncle fell in combat, their blood staining the snow. Her younger brother Milan was captured, sent to Jasenovac, where he perished at 15, a victim of the camp's unrelenting horrors. Grief only sharpened Lepa's resolve. In February 1943, she was escorting 100 women and children through a war-torn valley to safety when the 369th Croatian Infantry Division of the Wehrmacht ambushed them. Armed with a single rifle and a handful of bullets, Lepa fought with ferocity, her shots ringing out as she held off the enemy to give the others a chance to flee. When her ammunition ran dry, the women pleaded with her to discard her weapon, blend in among them, hoping to shield her from capture. She refused, her voice steady and resolute. "I'll face them head-on," she said, her eyes blazing with a fire no enemy could quench. Taken prisoner, brought to Bosanska Krupa, Lepa endured days of merciless interrogation. The Germans demanded the locations of partisan bases, the names of her comrades, using starvation, beatings, and threats to break her will. She gave them nothing, not a single name, not a whisper of betrayal. Her silence infuriated her captors, who saw in her defiance a threat they couldn't crush. After a sham trial, they sentenced her to death, determined to make an example of the teenage rebel who dared to defy them. On February 11, 1943, Lepa Radic, just 17 years old, was marched to a makeshift gallows in the town square of Bosanska Krupa. A crowd of villagers, forced to watch under the barrels of German rifles, stood in stunned silence as the young girl stepped forward. As the coarse rope was placed around her neck, Lepa's voice rang out, clear and fearless. "Long live the Communist Party and the partisans! Fight, people, for your freedom. Don't surrender to these villains. I'll die, but others will avenge me." The German commander, desperate to break her even at the end, offered her one last chance. Name her comrades, and she'd live. Her response was a thunderclap that echoed through the square. "I'm not a traitor to my people. Those you seek will show themselves when they've wiped out every last one of you evildoers." With that, the platform beneath her feet was kicked away. Lepa Radic was hanged. Her body remained dangling for 4 days, a grim warning intended to cow the townsfolk into submission. But instead of fear, her death ignited a fire of resistance that spread like wildfire across the region. In her final moments, Lepa proved that even a teenage girl could strike terror into the hearts of her oppressors, her sacrifice a rallying cry that echoed far beyond the square where she fell. When World War II ended in 1945, Yugoslavia emerged from the ashes to honor its fallen heroes. On December 20, 1951, Lepa Radic was posthumously awarded the Order of the People's Hero, the nation's second highest honor, making her the youngest recipient at the time. For years her story lingered in the shadows of history, known only to those who'd lived through the war's horrors. But in 1968, a photograph of her execution, discovered in the pocket of a German soldier killed in 1945, was identified by a relative, thrusting her back into the spotlight, cementing her status as a national icon. Across the former Yugoslavia, Lepa's name became a rallying cry for generations. Streets in Sarajevo and Belgrade were named after her. Schools bore her legacy. Youth brigades chanted her name with pride. Statues and memorials rose in Bosnia, Serbia, and beyond, each one a tribute to her unyielding spirit. In Bosanska Krupa, the elementary school named in her honor stands as a living testament, where children gather each year to hear her story, their young voices reciting the tale of a girl who faced down tyranny with nothing but her courage. Lepa Radic wasn't just a name etched in a history book. She was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even a teenager could defy one of history's darkest regimes, leave a mark that time could never erase. When we look back at the grim days of World War II, stories like Lepa Radic's shine as beacons of heroism amid the chaos. She didn't just live with the passion of youth. She gave her life for the ideals of freedom and justice, her sacrifice a powerful testament to the human spirit's capacity for resistance. From the earliest moments of unconventional warfare, when guerrilla fighters struck from the shadows, to the fiery campaigns that blazed across the Balkan mountains, Lepa's image has endured as a vivid emblem of bravery, an unwavering faith in a better tomorrow. Her story weaves together meticulous historical detail, staggering statistics, and deeply personal moments into a narrative that resonates far beyond its time. It's not just the people of war-torn Yugoslavia who felt her impact. Her legacy inspires generations across the globe, from schoolchildren in Bosnia to history buffs in America. Time may soften the sting of those painful memories, but the spirit of liberty, the courage of fighters like Lepa, remain a torch lighting the path toward a future rooted in fairness and humanity. This journey teaches us timeless lessons: the power of unity in the face of division, the strength of bravery against overwhelming odds, the duty each of us holds to protect freedom, no matter the cost. Lepa's tale isn't merely a chapter of Yugoslav history. It's a clarion call to all people, urging us to rise up, defend the noble values of humankind, even when the fight demands everything we have. Reflecting on that arduous road, the legacy of the Yugoslav resistance, Lepa Radic stands as living proof of the human spirit's might, a force capable of toppling oppression, shattering prejudice, paving the way for a hopeful future where justice prevails. Lepa's story, the Yugoslav partisan movement, didn't just echo in the Balkans. They reverberated across the world, capturing the attention of historians, military minds alike. Western scholars, such as Barbara Jankar-Webster in her groundbreaking book, Women and Revolution in Yugoslavia, 1941-1945, praised the partisans' innovative tactics, noting how ordinary citizens, farmers, workers, especially women, transformed into a formidable fighting force that defied traditional warfare. A 1944 CIA report, declassified years later, credits the partisans with tying down dozens of German divisions, a crucial contribution that weakened the Axis, bolstered the Allies' ultimate victory. Experts see their efforts as a blueprint for grassroots resistance movements everywhere, from the jungles of Vietnam to the plains of Africa. Soviet-American archives alike highlight the partisans' uniqueness in the 20th century, a resistance that didn't just survive, but thrived against overwhelming odds, rewriting the rules of combat with their guerrilla strategies, communal spirit. Their success wasn't just military. It opened a new chapter in revolutionary history, inspiring liberation struggles across continents, from Asia's anti-colonial uprisings to Latin America's revolutionary fervor. The partisans proved that determination, unity, could outmatch even the most advanced firepower, a lesson that resonates in classrooms, war rooms to this day. In the modern era, media has kept Lepa's flame burning bright. Documentaries on BBC History Channel bring her story to life with haunting reenactments, survivor testimonies, while discussions on Reddit spark curiosity among history enthusiasts. In a striking moment in June 2020, rapper Ice Cube posted her execution photo online, drawing millions of views, igniting fresh interest in her courage, a testament to how her story transcends borders, generations. Through film, books, digital platforms, her message of sacrifice, resilience reaches audiences far beyond the Balkans, proving that true heroism knows no boundaries. Lepa's legacy stretches far beyond history into the realms of culture, education, weaving her into the fabric of collective memory. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Lepa Radic Elementary School in Bosanska Krupa serves as more than a place of learning. It's a shrine to her memory, where students gather each year to honor her with stories, songs, quiet reflection. In Serbia, her name graces streets, parks, public squares, standing as a constant reminder of her sacrifice, the price of freedom. Poets like Bosnia's Edin Šarić, in his poignant work, The Flame of Gašnica, paint her as a light unbroken by war's shadow. Words that echo at memorials resonate in classrooms across the region. Internationally, filmmakers, writers have drawn inspiration from her life, crafting works that keep her spirit alive. Independent filmmakers in Europe have produced short films that recreate her final stand with gripping authenticity, while authors pen novels, essays exploring her bravery. Educators, particularly in Eastern Europe, weave her tale into lessons on World War II, using her story to teach students about compassion, resilience, the cost of liberty. A teacher in Sarajevo once shared, "When I tell my students about Lepa, their eyes light up with wonder. They don't just learn history, they learn how to live with courage, stand up for what's right." Her legacy has become a powerful tool, shaping young minds, fostering a deeper understanding of the human capacity for good amid evil. To fully grasp the significance of Lepa Radic's life, we turn to the voices of experts who've studied her era. Barbara Jankar-Webster, a renowned historian of Yugoslav resistance, writes in Women and Revolution in Yugoslavia, 1941-1945, Lepa Radic exemplifies the extraordinary role women played in the partisan movement. Her youth, fearlessness highlight how the fight against fascism broke traditional boundaries, pulling even the youngest into the fray. Jankar-Webster emphasizes that Lepa's story isn't an outlier, but part of a broader pattern. Over 2 million women joined the resistance, a scale unmatched in most wartime theaters. Jelena Batinic, author of Yugoslav Women and Partisans, offers another layer. Lepa's execution wasn't just a tragedy, it was a strategic misstep by the Nazis. Her death galvanized the partisans, turning her into a martyr whose name fueled recruitment, morale. Batinic points to German records from 1943, which note an upsurge in resistance activity following Lepa's hanging, suggesting her sacrifice directly intensified the fight against the occupiers. Military historian Dr. Robert M. Citino, an expert on World War II tactics, adds a strategic angle. The partisans, with figures like Lepa, turned the rugged Balkan terrain into a weapon. Their guerrilla warfare, small mobile units striking, vanishing, frustrated the Germans, who couldn't adapt to such unconventional foes. Citino argues that Lepa's actions, like her grain harvest under fire, showcase the logistical ingenuity that kept the resistance alive, a factor often overlooked in broader war narratives. These perspectives illuminate Lepa's dual role: a personal hero whose bravery inspired individuals, a tactical asset whose defiance shaped the war's course. Together they affirm her as a figure whose impact rippled far beyond her 17 years, offering lessons in courage, strategy, the power of the human will. More than 80 years after Lepa Radic's death on that cold February day, her story still grips us with its raw, unyielding power. From a simple village girl by the Sava River to a global symbol of defiance, she shows that one life, however brief, can alter the course of history. As historian Jelena Batinic writes, Lepa proves that youth, courage, can challenge even the darkest tyranny. Her name lives on, in stone statues, in school halls, in the quiet pride of those who remember, a flame that refuses to fade. Lepa Radic's journey urges us to act, to stand for justice, to fight for what's right, no matter the odds. In a world that still wrestles with conflict, inequality, her voice calls out across the decades, reminding us that as long as our hearts beat, the belief in freedom, fairness will burn bright. She was just 17, but her legacy is timeless, a testament to the unbreakable human spirit that shines through history's darkest chapters, inspiring us all to be a little braver, a little stronger, a little more compassionate in the face of adversity.